nose and the mouth, so I'm kind of doing triangles for the eyes. Super easy, super cute, that kind of thing. I kind of just think that this is easier to sort of draw on where I don't need to do the orange necessarily, and it kind of just helps to start off the look. I don't do this every time I do face paint, but sometimes when you want it to be a little more symmetrical, it is easier, and you do have to remember that your face is round and not a flat sheet of paper, so that can make things difficult. If you do a straight line, it won't necessarily be straight, it'll be more curved, so you have to put that into consideration. And I kind of just used a dot and then kind of drew it on a little bit, but this doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, and now I'm moving on to my nose. And in the past I did like a skeletal nose, but I just did like a triangle. Then I'm moving on to the mouth and sort of mapping that out to make it kind of even on both sides. This is a very rough draft because you'll see at the end, but I'm going to go in and add a lot more detail. In the past, when I've done this look, because I'm recreating it, I did it on Instagram more than once, in different colors, but in the past I've added like the regular toothy grin, but I'm doing a bit more scary, like claw-like, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm just kind of putting that in, and I'm feeling happy about it. So next up, I'm going into yellow and red face paint, and I'm going to take actually an eyebrow razor and scrape some of the red and some of the yellow off and mix it together to get orange. When I bought my face paints, I didn't buy every single color, but I do have like the primary colors and stuff like that, so I can just mix them together and get the shade that I want. And so I'm just using this spray bottle that's filled with water. It used to be an Urban Decay setting spray, but now I just use it for my face painting, and I'm mixing it together on a yogurt lid, so that's cool. Yeah, so I'm just like mixing them together to make orange, and I'm proud of my creation. So yeah, now I'm just using a flat foundation brush to put this on. I find that this is the best way for me to get like a nice base. I've used sponges or smaller brushes in the past, and this just kind of works the best for me, and having a really well primed base. And with this, I'm kind of going over the brown lines a bit because the orange doesn't matter too much. It'll be easier to go over the black, like go over the orange with black, then go over black with orange, if that makes sense. So I'm just kind of going over a little bit, but making everything orange first off. And I would suggest using a foundation brush you don't really care about. This brush I specifically just use for this, so yeah. Otherwise, it does stain a little bit. It takes a couple washes to get it out, so you don't want to like put foundation on after you wash it out. It is water activated, so it will come out with water, but it does take a little bit because the red stains a lot. So yeah, and because I wasn't actually going anywhere with this, I wasn't getting it too crazy in my hairline. So if you're wearing this out or whatever, if you want to, I would go into the hairline a bit more. But yeah, I'm just patting it all on, trying not to get it in my hair. Yeah, and I was so worried I was gonna break out after this, so the fears truly on my eyes. Yeah, so we're just making me orange because I'm about to be a pumpkin. And I don't think I ever did my ears because I was gonna put my hair over top of it, but if you want to do your ears, obviously feel free. So yeah, I'm just like kind of using the edge of the brush to get a bit more precision because it is kind of a thick brush, but if you have like a smaller one that's just as dense, that would also work the same. You could have also gone in, like I could have gone in with a smaller brush and done the outlining, but I didn't think it was necessary, so I didn't do it. And yeah, I'm just really putting that on, and you kind of have one chance, like after it dries, it's not going to be as easy to build up the color again, so you kind of have to move a little bit quickly and with a sense of urgency, I guess, but not too urgent because you don't want to mess up, but like with a small sense of urgency, that's important. So yeah, we're just putting it all over, and don't forget the nostrils. It sucks to clean later, but it in with your straight lines because it's just gonna take a long time. So a bigger brush will help get the job done quicker if you're like comfortable enough with the detailing. Yeah, so I'm just popping that on. Super easy, super cute, super opaque. I hate putting black face paint on my eyes. It never goes well for me. And also because I was just doing the big eyes around my eyebrows, I didn't like glue them down or anything because they blend in pretty well. But if you wanted to, you definitely could have done that. But I kind of felt like it wasn't 100% necessary with this look because it blended pretty well with the black. If I was doing like orange over the brows or something, that would have been like better to cover them up. But I felt like it was okay. I could get away with it. So yeah. Also, you know, be careful around your eyeball. I hate putting body paint over my eyes, but I did it anyway. I was honestly contemplating if I should just wait and do it at the end, but I did it. I took one for the team and I did it. But again, also be careful with your eye. I don't know if this is eye safe. I've never actually gotten it in my eye, but just be careful. Anyways, let's move on to the other eye. And yeah, just adding that shape in. I just did the outline first. I don't know. It's not necessary. We're gonna go in with eyeliner in a bit and like fix it up, so you don't have to be 100% accurate here. All good. Just get that black paint on that eyeball so we can become the pumpkin. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. So yeah, just getting that eye shape on and together. So cute, so fun, so fresh. And then I'm adding more water because it does eventually dry out. And this body paint specifically, I have like a little hole where I've calmly ever dug the brush in, and then the rest of it's flat. But yeah, these are face and body, like at Fab body paints, face and body. I got mine from a special effects store, but I know you can't get them on Amazon, and you can get the large ones and the small ones. I have the black and white in large, and then my regular colors I just have in the smaller one, and I've had them for years, so it's not a huge deal. They last a really long time, and as long as you aren't really contaminating them or anything, I don't think they're gonna go bad too easily, whereas the oil-based ones might, just because the oil could go rancid or whatever. Anyway, then I hopped actually into the Morphe 3503 palette, and I'm using the black to set that paint, especially over the eyes, so it stops it from creasing, but also the paint has more of like a satin glossy finish because it's water-based, so I like to add a little matte over it. It also just deepens it up, adds another dimension into the look, so I like to set body paint with eyeshadow. That's another tip, is that you can use it to highlight and contour more and add more dimension. I think it's something that does sort of separate like body painting and good body painting, you know what I mean? And here I'm just adding in a little bit of the eyeliner, just on my waterlines, tops and bottoms, just to like kind of keep that look a little bit more, and then I'm gonna set it again with the black. But yeah, I really like shading with body paints, and it does really help make the look a little bit more realistic, if you could say that. But yeah, I just added that brown liner on. If I would have had black, that would have been better, but I just have that really dark brown, so I'm setting that as well. I do apologize for my scary light blue eyeballs being surrounded by black. It makes them even more terrifying, but it's fine. Anyways, I'm just setting the other eye as well. With all this black eyeshadow, you can really pack it on. The more the merrier at this point, to really make that as black as possible, and so it doesn't crease or anything like that. It also makes the eyes feel better if they're not so tacky. I mean, the water activated paint does dry better than oil or whatever, but for the time being, while you're waiting for it to dry, it will crease and it will feel uncomfortable, so it's just kind of better to set it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm also using one of the brushes you get in the Anastasia palettes that's dual-ended. They're actually really good brushes. I use them frequently for like face painting and that kind of thing. So yeah, now I'm hopping in and drawing on the nose. I'm using a much smaller brush for this. I mentioned this in a previous video, but I actually got this brush from Michaels. It's a painting brush. It's called a spotter. use any black eyeshadow you want. Depends how black you want it, because, you know, sometimes black eyeshadows are more like just dark grays, but yeah. Anyways, that's what I was doing. What am I doing here? I'm confused. I'm taking this little brush and I'm doing something. Oh, I'm starting to draw the lines of the pumpkin. I was like, I'm so confused. Anyways, sorry. I'm drawing the little grooves of the pumpkin, and this is probably the hardest part. So basically I'm just drawing that line down my face, and like I was saying before, my face is already curved, so it can be straight, you know what I mean, because it's going to curve. So I'm just very focused and going down my face with this first line, and then at the end I'm kind of curving it under to make it, you know, look like it's going into like the butt of the pumpkin, if that makes sense. And I didn't want to start directly in the middle of my face. I wanted to start off to the side, just because I felt like if I went right down the middle, it would, like, you'd be able to tell if something was off. So I wanted it not to be 100% symmetrical. Like, I did it on purpose to kind of like shift everything over. Yeah, if that makes sense. So I'm just kind of taking a space between and just adding in these lines. They didn't necessarily have to be black. You could do grays or orange or something, but I wanted it to be dramatic, just to really show that I'm a pumpkin. But pumpkins don't have black lines. They're just like, you know, shadows in the indents. So yeah. Anyways, I'm just doing them like pretty far apart. I didn't want to do too many too close together because that could really be a lot of work. But yeah, just kind of adding that in and trying to make it look as pumpkin-y as possible. And then I'm gonna add one last one on this side near the edge of my face. I feel like you don't have to do that one, but it really adds more. And then I had to go back and add more paint because I didn't have enough, and that was stressful. I had to hold my breath. I was like, oh my goodness, what if I mess up? I know it's just the side, but it would have been devastating. And then here you can kind of see I'm sort of trying to like make it look like it's going underneath, like the little butt of the pumpkin, if that makes sense. And there I'm adding even more because it's like it needs to go and look like it was all the way around. Here I am using my mouth as a hand. Typical. Anyways, we're gonna go do the lines on the other side, which you won't be able to see as well, but it was equally as stressful, I promise. Yeah, see, I think it would have looked weird if I had gone like directly down my nose, so I didn't do that. I think I've done it in the past, and I didn't love the way it looked. Yeah, so I went to the side, and this was, yeah, it's equally as stressful. It's written all over my face. There's no expression there, but I remember how it made me feel, and it wasn't great. I could either be a pumpkin, or at this point, we're getting basketball vibes. Ball is life, hoop is life. I don't know much about basketball. I wasn't very good at it. It really stressed me out. Anyways, also using this dual-ended brush. It's the other one that I have from the Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes, and it has like the one flat side and the fluffy side, and I was using like the fluffy side to blend it out if I needed to as well. So you got hands, you got dual-ended brushes. I was just blending away. I wanted to just look like the coolest pumpkin, and I had the tools to accomplish that means, so that was cool. Anyways, yeah, we're still blending. I'm hoping that this blending process here is just enough for you to fall asleep. Like this, you're good. You're out of here. That was enough. Like, you've had it. I didn't want to cut anything out of this because I thought, I was like, this is gonna be probably pretty relaxing, so this is the whole thing. The only things I like to cut out of this video were me like looking for products, and no one wants to watch me look for products and be confused. I don't even want to watch myself be confused. Anyways, here we're still on the second line, and you know, sometimes you gotta bend your face and like hold your hair up in funny ways. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. This was the side of my head that I'm like more blind on, so it was a little bit more difficult for me. Anyways, it's a little more difficult for me to see because I just can't see, but that's okay. If you need to like get a friend to help you, that's fine, as long as they're like a good friend and they're willing to help you, all good. But you know what, just take it slow if you're struggling and you'll get there. This looks complicated, but I swear that almost anyone can do it. It might take a little time, but you can do it. This is super easy. It looks complex maybe, but it's not. It's just a few simple steps, honestly. I promise. I wouldn't tell you how to do something if it was just too difficult, because I sometimes give up in the face of adversity. It's one of my worst qualities, anyway. Here I am blending more and more, and really kind of like adding a lot of darkness and shadow into like my jawbone and that kind of thing to really like make that pop out. So I wanted to like have like, who has a really good jaw? The Dolan twins have good jaws. I don't know why I thought of them first. I don't know. I just wanted to have a good jaw as a pumpkin queen, because that's what pumpkin queens deserve. Anyways, here we are. We're headed on to the other side, miraculously. And yeah, I don't know why I felt the need to like hold my head like that. For some reason I did. I did pin my hair back way before I like even started, because I didn't want to get orange paint in my blonde hair. I would have been upset. You know, no one wants their hair to be orange when they're blonde. Like, that's just so taboo. Anyway, still blending these lines out with that dark gray shadow. It's been a good time. It really did take the longest. You would think that putting the orange face paint everywhere would have taken the longest, but we used a big brush, you know. You can't really use that much bigger of a brush than the one I'm using for this, because it's like a little detailing work, you know what I mean? But it's all good. It's not a big deal. Then I'm going around the nose as well to add a lot of shadow there. Yeah, I just wanted to make that look like a little bit more sunken in, maybe a little more part of the face, instead of the fact that I have like a real nose attached to my quite human face. But yeah, I didn't 100% accomplish that goal, but I gave it my old college try. I gave it my best shot. And I thought maybe if I like lean backward it'll help, but it didn't. And then I was like making this shadow on the top, but I hated it, so I kind of like blended that out more. I was like, oh no, let's abort that mission. So there, I was blending it. I was like, get that off my face. And here I'm going in the eyeball. I'm going to go around the bottom of both my eyeballs eventually, but I know I did that like relatively far apart from one another. I don't really know why, but I did. And here, there, we're going down So I actually really liked this. I'm glad that I accidentally got eyeshadow where I didn't want it, and then I was like, oh no, that was actually like a really good idea. So there's no mistakes in painting, there's just happy little accidents, as the King Bob Ross once said. So yeah, it was a happy little accident. I'm glad that I had a happy little accident on my face. No, I'm so sorry, I take that back. I didn't mean to say that out loud. I hope you're all asleep by the time that part comes around. Okay. And here I am getting it in my hair because I was like, you know what? I can't get away with not getting anything in my hair. It's inevitable at this point, so it might as well be eyeshadow instead of face paint. So putting that in my hairline. At least it's sort of similar to my hair color, so it did blend quite well. I didn't do the best job on my forehead. I don't know what this was all about. But sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles, you know. That's showbiz, baby. I also get like Darth Maul vibes from this kind of makeup, but I also have seen like the Darth Maul, is that what it is? The red guy from Star Wars. I've seen the makeup up close recently, and it wasn't very good. Was it good for the 70s? Yeah, but like now it's kind of underwhelming, but it's fine. Who am I to start slandering the Star Wars franchise from the 70s? Like, I don't know who I am. Like, I should stop. I like Star Wars. No one worry. No one worry. I'm sorry. Okay, let's keep blending. We're getting there. We are getting there. The vision is starting to come to life, so that's really dope. There's just so much blending. But you know what I say? If you think you're done blending, you need to just blend a little more. So naturally, that's where we're at. Yeah, just so much blending to become the beautiful pumpkin that we will be at the end. So there's that. Just so much blending. Blending again. But we're almost finished. Look at me go. I only have like a couple lines left, like 3. And they're getting smaller, so that's cool. Look at me go. I'm actually quite thrilled. Okay, look at me go. I remember feeling a little defeated at this point. I was like, I want to quit. Like, delete the footage. I don't care. I'm washing my face. But I kept going, because that's life, and that's how you should approach your adversities in life. So I kept going. And I was happy eventually when I got to the end of the line. So here we go. Still blending though. And it's probably been like 10-15 minutes. I don't know. Like, I feel like I've just been sitting here talking about this for some time now. So that's cool. Yeah, we're still just blending, and that's fine. We have to get that under eye blended out to create like a spooky little sunken in look. So yeah, blending it out. When in doubt, blend it out. When in doubt, blend it out. When am I going to be finished this? I do not know. By the time this is over, I will be a pumpkin queen, but a dead pumpkin queen, because it's been 200 millennia. But it's looking pretty good in my personal opinion, and I normally don't say that about my own work, so there's that. Look at me go. I'm on the second last pumpkin line. What are they called? Crevices, indents. I don't know what they're called. I should really Google that. Google's my best friend. When you don't know something, just Google it. And I feel like I really need to Google what these things are called, because I talk about them frequently in my everyday life and I don't know what they're called. But anyway, exciting news. We're finished that, and now I'm going into the dark matte oranges in that same Morphe palette, and I'm just blending in between the lines and like adding more of this red color in. This definitely doesn't take as long, and yeah, I'm using a much bigger, fluffier brush for this, and I'm just kind of patting it, not overly blending, because I want that orange from the bottom to kind of peek through as well, but just kind of adding it in to add another layer of dimension. And I kind of liked the like reddier orange. It's not necessarily so pumpkin, it layers of shadow on top. It really just does something. I don't know, you probably knew that if you're into face painting though, and you watch like other people's Halloween videos. I'm probably telling you things you already know, but I think that they're important if you don't know. So yeah, eyeshadow time. And it's okay that it looks kind of like messy. That's okay in this kind of look, because we want to look messy and like a little deranged, you know. I use that word a little too much. Anyways, I'm going into this eyeliner that's impossible to open. It's the NYX Epic Ink Liner. I've had it for a while. It's similar to the tattoo liner, like the Trooper liner by Kat Von D, but it's not a satin finish. It's a matte finish, but I hate it so much. Anyway, what I'm doing with it is I'm adding in a bunch of dotting detail and sharpening up the edges. It's kind of hard. You're just gonna have to watch and it'll come together. This is my favorite part of face painting like this. I got this technique from Ash Levi. She does Ashtoberfest every year. I highly recommend checking out her looks. They're always stunning, but she loves adding in these little dot details, and I 100% took this technique from her and I added it into a lot of my makeup looks, and I love it. It makes it creepier and spookier, and it adds more texture in instead of just these straight lines. And the blending, it adds more texture. So basically, I'm just sharpening up the edges and making them pointier and adding in these creepy little dots that are kind of crawling. But what I was saying about this eyeliner is, this is the third one I've had. I kept buying it and giving it a chance, but it bleeds so much for me. Like, it bleeds everywhere, and even this one, the other two I had weren't as bad, but this one I had to keep wiping the tip off because it was getting this giant, like, teardrop of ink. Like, the liner basically was like squirting out of it, like dropping out, so I had to keep cleaning that off. And so when I was doing winged eyeliner, it would transfer a lot and it would like bleed and stuff. The formula is really good and the finish is stunning, but it doesn't work great for me for like beauty looks. But when it comes to this kind of thing, it works perfect because it does bleed and it adds in an extra little creepy layer that I wouldn't be able to do, I don't think, like without it kind of naturally happening in its own natural state. So I really like it for that. But yeah, I wanted to love it so much because I don't love giving KVD money, but her liner's just the best. And I was thinking today, what am I gonna do when they stop making it? Like, I'm gonna have to find a new one. Anyways, I'm just adding all this detail in with this liner, and it does take a while, but I figured it would be really relaxing to watch all the little dots. And for me, sometimes I get bored when I'm doing something really, really repetitive, but I could sit and do this for hours. It's very similar to like my freckle technique, except for I'm not like patting them out with the freck, I'm just putting them on, and it's, for me, it's like I'm giving myself ASMR when I'm doing it, so I figured you guys would enjoy watching it. Yeah, I just really like it. I'm also always amazed by how still of a hand I can have when I'm doing makeup, because I'm actually one of those people that like kind of just naturally shakes. Almost everyone in my family does it, like my brother and my two other sisters and I kind of just shake. I'm not as bad as them, but I do kind of just shake, so I'm always amazed that I can like do eyeliner so well. But yeah, here I am just like very sporadically doing the dotting. The fun thing about this is if you get it somewhere you don't want it, you can't. It's like you get it anywhere and it's gonna look good. I'm doing like variations of sizes of dots, like I'm just doing it very, very randomly and just putting it on, like not really thinking too hardly about it, just getting that liner on there, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. It just looks so good, and this is